Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Amber Price, psychic medium. And today I'm joined by a very special guest, Dr. Tiffany Hunt. And you might recognize this beautiful face because she was recently with me on the Sapphire Souls, where we talked about sound therapy because Tiffany is a certified sound therapist and she's also a clinical health psychologist. So today, we're just getting together to chat about some of the things that both of those certifications are going to be able to help shed some light on in the universe today. And so, Tiffany, how are you finding the benefits of sound therapy right now, just in general? But how do you think that they're helping with, the tumultuous times right now?
Sure. Well, I know that I tend to be quite a busy brain person, and some of my clients are as well. And particularly those who struggle with a little bit of anxiety or depression, it can be really hard to slow your brain down and to slow your thought process down. Because of that, unfortunately, sometimes it's a little challenging to relax or to achieve a state of meditation. So that's one of the beautiful things that I find about sound is it's really a lovely intervention. It gives you something to focus on, right? Where you can really hone in your attention on that anchor of sound to help you better achieve, right? Like a state of meditation.
Absolutely. And I think that when we talk about being mindful and practicing mindfulness, there's different levels of that and different layers you can peel back. And when you really are able to kind of escape and go, to the subconscious and really allow yourself to disconnect, a lot of people already resonate with music, whether it is, the top 50 hits of the decade or the year, what have you. But sound therapy, from what I have been able to experience through you and through others, through the binaural beats or the different frequencies, it really releases. Can you speak to that? Like some of the like releases or maybe experiences people might have had to like have that emotional and spiritual connection?
For sure. Yeah, and I identify as an integrative practitioner. So to me, wellness, it's really about looking at things or taking a mind, body, spirit approach. And that's what's really lovely again with the sound is that, again, it can allow for some people just to achieve a state of relaxation or a sense of calming, right? Where for other people, again, it's a kind of a more elaborate form of meditation, right? Like where they are actually to achieve different states of consciousness too.
Oh my goodness. And some of the frequencies that are hit, like one time, just out of my own personal experience, I was very emotionally triggered with wanting to release through a cry. And it wasn't a sad, oh my goodness, I'm re-experiencing a trauma or a negative emotion. It was like, whoa, it
Yeah.
was a profound release. And it was like, I felt like $1,000,000 after. I was like, wow, this was one necessary experience in my life. And I really, I love that you're providing the sound therapy classes and workshops because for people who are really starting to enter into different healing modalities holistically, this is something all of you should experience for sure. Now, right now, today, as we speak and we get together, basically what's on everybody's mind. So you deal
Right.
daily with people that have anxiety, depression, and other things that they're up against daily. So what kind of strategies might you recommend for people who are already at a heightened sense of anxiety, really tuning into the universal collective energies right now? What kind of tips and techniques could we use to help folks out there really find a sense of balance and ground?
Sure. So I think it's really important to, reflect on self-care activities, that's going to look a little bit different for everybody. So, and this is kind of an interesting time now that for some people, we've been forced to slow down to take this opportunity to find out what really resonates for you. For some people, right? Like it might be, music or sound. For other people, right? It might be other calming activities that are sensory, like lighting candles, essential oils. So it's really, we have this opportunity now to kind of, be curious and investigate and find out kind of what works for you. And again, remembering that's going to be unique to everybody, but to kind of treat this, right, like as an exploration process for sure. The other thing I would say is that it is important, right, like to have some kind of routine or structure in your days, especially if you have little ones at home as well, right? Like that gives them that sense of routine, right? And a little bit of reassurance that there is some kind of plan or schedule in place for them too.
Absolutely, because with having children of my own, and they range from the youngest being 12 in April to 22, and then having two grandchildren who are just infants, we really can see the effects that on each age level, even in our adult peers and our generations before us, how each individual person might connect and resonate with each other in the way that they're feeling about what's happening with the energy, and maybe some people unsettled, or some people like myself who have an extreme sense of calm all of a sudden. Like I have a very profound sense of peace right now. And as you and I've discussed in the past, I've been waiting for, I don't know, something's been coming to me for about a year now where I feel like I can't just disconnect. Something's there, what's coming. And I've been speaking a lot about wellness and self-care and really going within. And so now that this has kind of come to, let's say, a head, and everyone is, globally aware, I did get that, like, okay, this is what it is. And now I feel like now we can heal the universe, the people, the energies. And this is one of the most important questions I wanted to ask you today was, how do some people feel, or how do you feel that, we're putting a lot of emphasis right now on how do we cope, how do we manage, how do we forge forward? But some of the things that we're discussing are all of the things that universally we have been trying to make awareness about, such as a lot of people like you are helping every day, are dealing with anxiety, depression, and those things, where now we're all dealing with it. So now it's almost this collective awareness that, whoa, this is something we need to manage. And do you find that it sheds some light and gives people a different perspective to help the others that have already been there?
For sure. And I think, that is something, kind of beautiful to see, is people really coming together. And also, right, like embracing this mindfulness, like it is time for a pause. It is time to reflect. It is time to do some of that perspective taking, even recognizing, our helpers who are out there now, right? Like in the medical profession or truck drivers, right? Like, it's also giving, the younger generation a perspective, it's not just valuing celebrities or, it's different role models and mentors to look up to, and really taking that time to experience gratitude, not to become complacent. And, this is also a time, and I value components of cognitive behavioral therapy, and also recognizing, right, like positive, but it's not just focusing on the positive, but also what's realistic. And again, think that's valuable to realistically reflect on, what do we have right now that we can be grateful for, or maybe even think about some things that perhaps we have taken for granted as well.
Oh, and I completely understand and support that statement, because it is something that has been coming for a long time. And in my industry, in the spiritual industry, we are learning more about the indigo people. We're learning more about the crystal children that are coming. They're already coming to forge forward into a life where we are putting value on things that are not material items. They're allowing us to help think outside of the box and really challenge old belief systems and institutions. And so what's happening now is this shift in the universe and this health crisis that, you know, worldwide we're struggling with, has really just allowed that generation, the indigos, the crystal children, and the empaths, to really have momentum behind them to start to deliver that kind of new way.
Yeah, those messages too.
The messages are strong, so strong. And, you know, right now, you know, I don't want to mention any particular type of brand, because we all know the great brands that are out there, and everybody's, you know, in the material, the electronics, you know. Look, once upon a time, we were standing in line not so long ago trying to get the latest technology, you know, waiting in line all night. And now we're waiting in line to make sure we have our necessities, the toilet paper, water, baby wipes, formula, whatever else that, you know, the high ticket items are right now. And it really does allow us to see, at the end of the day, what are we actually putting priority on? And the generosity, I find it does allow us to be more generous and empathetic.
Oh, for sure. And even, you know, it's fascinating, right, in some ways with technology, how connected we've become, but also disconnected, right? Like, this is also a time, you know, to be doing things like reading with your kids. Right? Like, lots of opportunity again to do kind of that pausing and reflecting, you know, not only for yourself, what can you do, right? Like, to kind of nurture, because lots of people are in caregiving roles too.
Oh, absolutely.
It's important that you are engaging in that self-care so that you're able to be there for others as well. But yeah, it's definitely a time of shift and reflection. And you know, and I would say with the technology piece, that's probably another bit of advice too. If you do tend to be a bit of a worrier, you know, or kind of get stuck in things, you know, it's really helpful to limit, right, like your exposure to news and social media. However, having said that, also recognizing that it still is a means for connection. So finding ways, right, like, so that you're not completely isolated and you do have that social contact, maybe not face to face, but right, like on screen or through phone, very valuable.
Absolutely. And, you know, I was just, you know, listening. I do a lot of feeling. I'm an empath, so I pick up on the energy that's, you know, plants, places, people, things, days, you know, holidays. I pick up on the energy of those things, as I know you do as well. And you know, the other day I was just listening to everything, and I could hear children outside playing basketball and laughing and connecting outside. I could see people walking their dog or walking hand in hand in a couple, you know, just standing out on their front porch. You know, you could hear more, you know, people talking about families sitting down together and having a meal together, and really, you know, nutrition wise, even planning out our meals to make them more healthy, nutritious, and and so, you know, there's a lot of things that we can show gratitude for, and a lot of times that will help us. Now, the other thing too is, do you have any tips for people who might already be in a struggling health crisis themselves that is totally unrelated, like somebody who's dealing every day with, let's say, multiple sclerosis or something? How do we keep their emotions, and how do we keep their energy and spirit up during this time? Like, we did talk, and I know that a lot of that will resonate with everybody, but what about the people that are also experiencing extraordinary things that are happening right now?
Sure. And I think part of it is sometimes just reflecting, right? Like, it's being authentic and, you know, validating emotions that, sure, there may be other struggles present. And kind of, I think this is where the role of, you know, support comes into play. You know, sometimes just asking the person, you know, what is it that you need me to do for you, or would like me to do for now? Do you want me to just kind of talk, and just, do you need a little bit of distraction? Right? Would you like to do like kind of over the computer, or watch a program to get, you know, and then talk about it afterwards? So I think it's important, right? Like, not to assume right?
Yeah.
Like what somebody needs to do that kind of checking in process. But also just, coming from that empath stance as well, knowing that, right, like there's kind of all the stress that is going on in the world right now, and people are dealing sometimes with additional stressors on top of that, so operating from that place of kindness and support, and again, checking in with people, how can I be of a support to you, and what is it that you need?
Absolutely, because we, for the most part, may take for granted that we could normally have gotten up and gone out of the house and done our groceries and what have you. And now we're experiencing where we're being advised maybe stay in. And now we're like, holy, how do we do this for this long? Or how do we not get to be able to go out and do the things that we normally do? But
For sure.
again, the universe is really giving us an opportunity to really remember the people who don't have the ability to do this on a normal day-to-day basis. And so this will show us a little bit more compassion and empathy for the people who are in a different demographic or have different health limitations and things like that. So yeah, use the opportunity to check in, and don't assume, don't just take over, I guess. Right?
Yeah.
Like don't
tempting with your caregiver and an empath, but
yeah. And, just quickly, like to speak upon caregiver burnout as well, like that's a whole other thing. And now, of course, the demands are extra on top of that. So just making sure, drinking more water, having more naps,
Yeah.
sleep when you can,
Yeah, absolutely. It's also a time, right? Like for rest and restoration. And like I said, sometimes you just have to kind of chunk things, right? Like maybe it's about getting through the hour, maybe it's about getting through the day. But taking, also treating it with that self-exploration, like this is a time to figure out, what actually works for you, what actually resonates, give yourself permission to be curious, and try some different things out. And that's, again, probably that's one of, I'm drawn to some of that, but I've been really impressed, whether it's been kind of fitness facilities posting videos, or right, like book clubs posting things online or activities for kids to do. So, if you're able to take advantage of that, like go for it.
Absolutely. I think it really just goes to speak about, if we look back a century ago where people were in a pandemic state, we didn't have that ability to connect in this way through the use of technology and internet and telephone, or what have you, whatever the services are that we have right now. So even though we're, being really kind of swayed into going within, pausing, rejuvenating, it really still is a different way to use those connections. And, just even, as a family, my mother, God love her, she's an amazing soul. She said, I think I'm going to play bingo with the kids. And so she said, like, make sure that they can call the numbers and I'll just text the numbers. They use the cards, flip their cards over, and then they can call bingo. And so, so she's being interactive with them, because my parents are really, disappointed that they can't connect with my kids the way that they normally do. Right.
Sure.
So it's nice to see them too, because in their generation, they didn't use technology to that extent. And so now they're getting into texting the numbers and, and all of that. So yeah, so they're really, learning a new skill.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're, it's something to reflect upon, like if you're not symptomatic or you're able to get out, that's also something nice if you do have kids to model with, or just to do for yourself. Think about ways that you can give back. Like if you have, some extra soap or items, right, that somebody could benefit from, drop it off on their porch if you're able to do that. Part of that, it is nice, again, if you can find a way to give back, right? Like that's where some of, right, like the reward will be experienced as well.
Yeah, because it's not any one person's responsibility at this point. Like the only way that we as a world and humanity in general that will be able to really be successful through anything is if we all do our part and really, lend a hand or help or check in to the people, or, take some of the burden off of the frontline workers that are constantly, and God love all of these new businesses too, the delivery businesses, like order your groceries and they're delivered to the front porch, or,
Yeah.
or whatever. So there's lots of opportunities to be able to continue your business, to continue to work
Sure.
remotely, and as
Yeah.
well to visit with your friends and family if you're not symptomatic.
Yeah. And again, it's another beautiful message and takeaway that it's really going to be the collective effort, right? Like collective spirit, collective mindset, that we're really in this together. And I think operating, right, like from that standpoint is really valuable. And, it's just fascinating coming from psychology where a lot of the focus tends to be on the individual, the self. So this is also really a time to reflect again on the we and the broader and the collective, because it really is, again, going to be about approaching this right, like as whether a group or a community, right, that we're going to get through this together.
Absolutely. And don't forget our pets too. Like
Oh, absolutely.
I know spiritually, pets are, like our children, they're our best friend. They're sometimes the only thing that help people get through. So, even pet therapy, there's the pet therapy where
Absolutely.
people
Yep.
really get joy and healing out of the pets. So, taking care of our animals will bring us some joy and some healing, as well as making sure that they're not stressed through this time as well, right? So
Definitely. Yeah.
lots of things to think about and lots of things to look at there. But I think one of the biggest messages, and this is why I love chatting with you, is because the work that people like you in your industry do day in and day out is remarkable, and it is life changing, and it's influential. And so I wanted to thank you and everybody in your industry for doing the work that you're doing, and also taking the time to spread light on people in this time that where we do feel that we're together. And for the first time for many people right now might be the first time people don't feel alone, because
Right.
everybody's experiencing this together. It's not just, somebody feeling like they don't belong or they don't fit in, or that they're crazy. And so, so it's really good and happy for me to have resources like this to be able to shout out to. How
Yeah.
do people find you?
Well, right now I am in private practice at West Niagara Psychology Center. I also have, through my sound therapy, a couple of social media sites through Facebook. It's Tuned In with Tiffany, and same with Instagram. You can find me at Tuned In with Tiffany. You can also reach me via email, tiff@tunedinwith@tiffany.com as well.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I wanted to thank you so much for this opportunity. And again, that I'm also an empath and an integrative practitioner. I really do believe in mind, body, and spiritual wellness. Again, whether that be faith, religion, or spirituality. So thank you too also for the work that you do. I know that you provide a lot of mentoring and guidance within the spiritual realm as well. That is a great source of connection, right, and comfort for a lot of people too.
Oh, thank you for that. I'm completely drawn to do it. And, I just feel like if I can help even one person, or if something resonates out of, something that's said, or connections, I'm all about connections and clarity. And so thank you for that as well. And, there's supports out there for spiritual wealth, wealth. There you go. We're going to be wealthy in our spiritual. We're a spiritual love, gratuity, empathy, but spiritual health and emotional and mental health. There are support systems out there, and like reach out, connect with somebody. And I guess what I would say too is to connect with somebody like myself who's in the spiritual world. You really have to connect with somebody, just as somebody in Tiffany's industry. You really want a connection from a soul's level. So when you're choosing a professional to connect with, whether it's for mental health, emotional health, or spiritual health, that you're really connecting to the person, because the most profound healing and advancement in your soul or wellness comes from when you can connect, because that's your soul knowing that it's met its counterpart and you have agreed ahead of time that you're supporting this person through this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's true, right? Like right in your profession and my profession as well, like connection and fit is very important.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, everybody. And thank you, Dr. Hunt, so much for connecting today. And I look forward to talking to you more in the future. But everybody, if you have any questions, drop it in the comment section and Tiffany or myself will get back to you. And until then, be well and have a good day. Thank you. Bye.
Sure. Bye-bye.